My name is Caleb Webster Alt. This is for FTE-217, Week 2 assignment. There are 3 parts to this. So for part 1, it pretty much says to make sure that your firearm is fully disassembled, which my firearm came disassembled. So I'll go out there and we'll take a look at that. But first we're going to go over part 2. So in part 2, it says to select and name 6 components within the AR-15 platform, describe their function, and identify the steps of cycle of operations in which each component plays an active role in. What was supplied was a random number generator, as well as a AR-15 components list found at Midway USA. So I used those 2 links that were provided, and I looked on Midway USA, and according to their parts list, there is a total of 101 parts on an AR-15. So I just typed that into the random number generator, bada bing, bada boom, hit it 6 times, and it gave me 6 random numbers. And then I cross-referenced those numbers back to the parts list, and this is what they gave me. So this is what we're going to go over, is the cycle of operations and how these parts play a role in that. So I got parts 45, 12, 31, 94, 11, and 57. So out of those 6 parts, I actually only got 1 part that was a part of the cycle of operations in some way. So let's just go over what are the cycle of operations. So for 1, there are 8 or whatever, or 9, 8. So the first one is feeding, second one is chambering, third locking, fourth firing, fifth unlocking, sixth extraction, seventh ejection, and the 8th cocking. I am going off of a little notebook I have writ up. So let's just go over the first one, my first part, which is number 45, and that is the firing pin. That plays a direct role in firing in the cycle of operations, as you could understand why. That is what is igniting the cartridge, and it is what is firing. So I would have to say firing pin plays a direct role in the firing in the cycle of operations. Beyond that, though, for 12, 31, 94, 11, and 57, for 12, I got bolt catch plunger. Bolt catch plunger is it's just a little, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a little plunger that is used to push back on the bolt catch, because if there was just a spring, well, then the spring wouldn't make contact. So there has to be something in between, kind of like a spacer, but also a pusher. So it's a plunger. It's just to make sure that bolt catch is properly functioning. For number 31, I got the muzzle device. Again, it's not really crucial in the cycle of operations, but it is a part of the firearm, and that is just going to direct muzzle blast so that it better controls recoil for you. That is its purpose. For number 94, I got a takedown pin. A takedown pin is exactly what it sounds like. It's to take the rifle down in a fast manner. That is its purpose, at least, and it has no role in the cycle of operations. For number 11, which is the bolt catch, same thing. Plays no role in the cycle of operations. It just simply locks the bolt open when there's no ammo in the magazine anymore. For 57, I got a front sight spring, so that absolutely plays no cycle of operations at all. But it is just to keep tension on that front sight as you adjust it, So that is all the 6 parts that we went over. Only 1 actually played a role in the cycle of operations, and I already kind of figured this, because 101 parts, only 6, got a really low chance of really talking about it. But we will come back to the cycle of operations after my firearm is fully assembled. So we went over the cycle of operations. We went over my 6 parts and how those parts play a role in the cycle of operations, and if not, what the purpose of that part is, and so on and so forth. So that is part 1 and part 2. For part 3, I'm going to assemble the firearm. After that, after the actual assembly process is done, I am then going to talk about the cycle of operations and pretty much test the firearm. We are going to test it and see if it can properly go through the cycle of operations successfully. So for part 1, we are going to stop this clip, and I'll make another clip, and you guys will see all the parts exploded or in an exploded view, so that you guys get to see the firearm in a disassembled state before I fully assemble it. So this is just the first part of this video. I'm going to skip forward to the next clip and so on and so forth. So I'll see you there. This is the firearm in a exploded view, completely disassembled. So I'll just give a quick panorama of everything, showing that every part is accounted for. I also have a few extra parts to put on the firearm once it is fully assembled, and I also am waiting for parts to come in to the mail. But other than that, that's everything to complete a full AR-15. So let's get to it. So, for this portion of the video, I am supposed to be showing the final build of my DPMS rifle build kit, AR-15 chambered in 5.56, from SDI, again, made by DPMS. I wanted to demonstrate that this gun does work, but as you can see, it is missing its magazine catch assembly, and I'm waiting for that to come in the mail, and it's just sadly taking too long, and I needed to get my assignment done. So yes, this rifle has been tested by holding a mag in place with dummy rounds and then cycling it and making sure it functions properly. So that has been tested, and that's what this assignment is for. But because I can't do that and I needed to get my assignment turned in time, and I can't just wait around on a part, I have another AR that I will demonstrate to you, so I can demonstrate how the cycle of operations is supposed to look and function. So as you can see, keep your finger off the trigger. We're going to remove the magazine. Empty mag, we'll put this off to the side. And then we'll hold the bolt open. I'll show you. Empty, empty. I'll look. Empty. We have a safe gun. So with this gun, I plan to demonstrate the 8 steps in the cycle of operations with dummy rounds. So these are dummy rounds. These are snap caps. These are not real ammunition. And so this is safe. So I'm going to go about loading this in here. And I'm going to put the gun onto the workbench so that you can see it functioning, I guess, somewhat. So I consider feeding to start when the bolt carrier carries forward and strips a round off the magazine. So that's feeding. So let's begin that. Also, chambering simultaneously happens directly after that. Right after the rounds stripped from the magazine, that's when chambering begins. So feeding begins when the bolt carrier starts to go forward. Feeding ends when chambering begins, which is when the bullet actually starts to get guided into the chamber. So let's just show you what that quick action looks like of those 2 steps. And here you go. So that was feeding / chambering all in a split second, as well as, I forgot to mention, step 3, which is locking. So as that bolt carrier is forward, it is going to rotate the bolt, and it is going to lock them lugs. So that is locking. Locking ends as soon as we pull the trigger. Keep in mind, these are snap caps, so this is completely safe to do. So we'll pull the trigger, that's firing. Now we're going to get into unlocking. Firing ends exactly when the cartridge explodes, essentially, and creates enough pressure that it actually unlocks. So we'll simulate that here. And see, so that's unlocking. I would say unlocking ends as soon as the extraction claw grabs a hold of that casing and starts to pull it out of the chamber. So as you can see, it's starting to pull it out, and now we're getting into ejection. It's going to throw that empty casing out of the chamber. That's ejection. Now we're going back into cocking. Cocking happens right after ejection. It's all one motion pretty much. It all happens within, a subsequent second. So now we're right back into feeding again and chambering. So now it's chambered another one. And it's locked as well. We can also fire. So, simulate firing. We're going to go into unlocking. Firing has exploded. It's now unlocked the bolt lugs. It is also now extracting, and now finally ejection. So on and so forth. Pretty basic stuff. We will also take this out. So, empty gun is a safe gun. So that's it for this week's assignment. This gun does work. I'm quite happy with it. This is my first build, so I'm quite excited for the magazine catch assembly button to come in, and I will install that and hopefully shoot it a lot. So that's it for part 3 and for week 2 assignment for FTE-217. So thank you very much and have a nice day.